The human mind did not evolve inside Middle-earth. That sounds obvious, almost stupid, but sit with it for a moment. Your brain, the one reading these words right now, was shaped on a very specific kind of planet, a planet where threats have fur and teeth, where danger lasts seconds, not millennia, where the unseen is simply that which you have not yet seen, not that which actively watches you from a dimension your senses cannot access. Tolkien understood something that evolutionary psychology would only articulate decades later. The mind is a survival organ, not a truth-seeking one. It is built to find food, avoid predators, and navigate social hierarchies. It is not built to withstand the unseen world, and Middle-earth is drenched in the unseen. Consider the Wraith world. When Frodo puts on the ring, he does not simply become invisible. He is pulled sideways into a dimension where spiritual beings exist as naked, terrifying presences. The Nazgul, who are barely visible in the normal world, become blindingly real in that other space. But here is the detail most readers miss. The human eye was never meant to see that dimension, and when it does, it begins to break. Frodo does not just suffer a wound from the Morgul blade, he suffers a perceptual wound. A crack in the wall between his mind and a reality that does not obey the laws of neurology. Tolkien wrote in a private letter that the unseen world is not a parallel universe in the sci-fi sense. It is the same world, stripped of its comforting veil. He called the veil a grace given to mortals, a filter, a mercy. Without it, a human would see the true weight of evil. They would see the malice that clings to every shadow cast by a creature of Morgoth. They would see the slow rot of time on stone, the hunger in the roots of old trees, the patient waiting of things that have no name, and they would collapse, not from fear, from overload. The human mind has a bandwidth. Tolkien's world exceeds it. This explains a strange pattern across all his writings. Mortals who live too long in the presence of the elves or the Valar do not become wiser. They often become sadder, stranger, or suicidal. The men of Numenor, given centuries of life and proximity to the Undying Lands, did not ascend to enlightenment. They became terrified of death, obsessed, corruptible, because their minds were never designed to hold that much time. Think of time as a substance. Elves are porous. Time flows through them without eroding their core. Humans are brittle. Every year, every memory, every loss leaves a crack. A human who lives 300 years is not 3 times wiser. They are 3 times more fractured. The Númenóreans did not fall because Sauron tricked them. They fell because their own minds, stretched across centuries they were never meant to occupy, had already begun to splinter. Sauron merely handed them a mirror. And then there is the ring. The One Ring is not just a tool of domination. It is a cognitive weapon designed to exploit every flaw in the human operating system. It speaks directly to the parts of the brain that crave order, certainty, and control. Watch how Boromir falls. He is not seduced by power in the abstract. He is seduced by a very human fantasy. The fantasy that there is a single solution. One ring to fix Gondor. One object to end the war. The human mind loves shortcuts. It loves the illusion that complexity can be crushed into a single golden answer. The ring knows this. It does not offer power. It offers the idea of power. And the human mind, desperate, tired, and terrified, says yes before the rational part can object. Tolkien wrote something devastating in Morgoth's Ring. He said that Morgoth, and later Sauron, did not create evil. They dispersed it. They poured their malice into the very matter of Arda, the air, the water, the stone, so that every mortal breathing that air, drinking that water, walking that stone, would inhale a tiny amount of the original corruption. This is not metaphor. Within the logic of the legendarium, the physical world is mildly toxic to the human psyche. Not enough to kill, just enough to make you irritable, fearful, possessive. Just enough to make the bad decision feel reasonable. This is why the Shire is so important. The Shire is not just a nice place. It is a low corruption zone. The air there has not been poisoned by centuries of dark lords. The water runs clean of old malice. Hobbits, who never venture far, are not braver or smarter than men. They are simply less eroded. Their minds have not been forced to process what they were never designed to process. But men live in Minas Tirith, where the shadow of Mordor falls across the river every evening. Men guard the Black Gate, breathing air that once carried the screams of slaves. Men walk the roads where the Nine once hunted, and every moment of that exposure leaves a trace. Denethor, using the Palantir, does not lose his mind because Sauron shows him lies. He loses his mind because Sauron shows him speed. Centuries of war, failure, and decay compressed into seconds. A human mind, given that much information in that little time, does not process it. It shatters. Denethor's suicide is not cowardice. It is the only logical response of a brain that has been asked to hold more than flesh can hold. Tolkien left us a warning buried in his letters. He said that the greatest tragedy of Arda is not the fall of Morgoth or the loss of the Silmarils. It is that the children of Ilúvatar, elves and men, were placed in a world that was already broken before they arrived. The elves can endure the breakage because they are bound to the world. They age with it, scar with it, fade with it. But men? Men were given the gift of death. And that gift is not just an escape from the circles of the world. It is a mercy. Because a human who lived forever in Middle-earth would not become a god. They would become a husk. A walking archive of every horror they had ever seen, with no ability to forget, no ability to heal, and no ability to die. That is the true terror beneath all the battles and the rings and the dark towers. The human mind was never designed for this world. And Tolkien, more than any other writer, had the courage to ask, what happens when we force it to live there anyway? The answer is not a villain. The answer is not a monster. The answer is the silence in a mad king's hall, the trembling hand of a steward who has seen too much, the hollow eyes of a ranger who has walked the dark places alone for too many years. The human mind breaks not because evil is strong. It breaks because evil is patient. And the mind was never built for patience. It was built to run, to hide, to kill, to love, to forget. And in Middle-earth, forgetting is the one thing it can never truly do.